Mama, I'm cold. Sienna Brooks's hands froze on the thermostat. The number stared back at her like an accusation. 51 degrees. Dropping. She twisted the dial again. Nothing, just the hollow click of a mechanism that had given up, same as everything else in her life seemed to be doing lately. Outside the window, Detroit was disappearing under white. The blizzard the news had been screaming about for 3 days had finally arrived, and it was hungry. Wyatt stood in the doorway of their bedroom, barely visible in the dim light from the candle she'd lit an hour ago. 2 years old. Too young to understand why the house felt like a freezer. Too young to know that the reason was a broken furnace and a mother who had $9 to her name until Friday's paycheck from the diner. $9 between them and Christmas Day with nothing. I know, baby. Mama's going to fix it. But the words tasted like lies even as she said them. How do you fix what you can't afford to repair? How do you heat a house when the landlord won't answer his phone and the furnace repair company wants $300 just to look at the problem? Sienna pressed her forehead against the wall and counted to 10. The therapist at the free clinic had taught her that trick 2 years ago, right after Michael's funeral. Count to 10 when the panic comes. Breathe through it. Let it pass. 1, 2, 3. But breathing didn't pay bills. Counting didn't make the heat come back on. And the walls of this rental house were so thin, she could hear the wind screaming through gaps in the siding. 4, 5, 6. Wyatt walked over to her, his feet making soft padding sounds on the cold floor. He was wearing his flannel pajamas, the ones with the trucks on them, the ones that were already too small but that she couldn't afford to replace. His little hand touched her leg. Mama. 7, 8. Just a minute, sweetheart. 9, 10. The panic didn't pass. It never really did anymore. It just settled into the background, a constant hum of dread that colored every moment of every day. 3 just and it still wasn't enough. Cleaning offices before dawn, serving hash browns and bad coffee at Davidson Diner from 8 to 4. Stocking shelves at the grocery store until midnight when they could give her the hours. 60, 70, sometimes 80 hours a week, and still drowning. Sienna walked to the kitchen. 5 steps in their tiny rental. The refrigerator hummed, mocking her with the electricity it consumed. She opened it, half a gallon of milk, 4 eggs, a heel of bread that had seen better days, some mustard, a jar of pickles that had been there when they moved in. She closed it and opened the freezer. Empty except for ice cube trays and frost thick enough to scrape off and call it snow. The $9 sat on the counter in crumpled bills, tips from her morning shift at the diner. Of 5 3-1s and 4 quarters, she'd counted twice to make sure. Tomorrow was Christmas Eve. The day after that was Christmas. The day after that was Friday payday and rent due. Her phone buzzed. She knew who it was before she looked. Harlan Pierce, her landlord. The text was 2 words, your problem. She'd called him 4 times about the furnace, left messages, sent texts explaining that Wyatt was 2 years old, that the temperature was dropping into the teens tonight, that the blizzard was supposed to be historic. Life-threatening, the news kept saying, the kind of cold that killed, your problem. Sienna closed her eyes. When she opened them, Wyatt was trying to climb onto the counter to reach the cookie jar. The empty cookie jar, because she'd sold the last package of Oreos to buy him milk 3 days ago. Hey, no climbing. She lifted him down. He was lighter than he should be. She knew that. 2 years old and wearing 18-month clothes because that's what fit him. The pediatrician at the clinic had used words like underweight and food insecurity and made Sienna fill out forms about her income and living situation. But what was she supposed to do? Work a 4th job? There weren't enough hours in the day. I'm hungry, Wyatt said. Sienna looked at the clock, 7:43. She'd given him the last of the cereal 2 hours ago for dinner. Told him Mama had already eaten, which was a lie. Her stomach had been cramping with hunger since noon, but Wyatt came first. Wyatt always came first. How about some toast? She took the heel of bread and the butter and made him toast. Half a slice. She split it into small pieces and put grape jelly on it. No peanut butter. That had run out last week. Wyatt ate it slowly, carefully, like he understood on some level that there wasn't more coming. Sienna watched him eat and felt her chest tighten. This wasn't the life she'd imagined. This wasn't what Michael had promised when they got married 6 years ago. He'd been 23, fresh out of basic training, full of plans about the future they'd build together. She'd been 22 and pregnant, and so desperately in love, she'd thought, no, nothing could ever go wrong. Then Michael deployed to Iraq. Then the IED on a road outside Fallujah. Then the officers in dress uniforms at her door with words like, "Regret to inform you," and died in service to his country. Wyatt had been 3 months old. He'd never know his father except through photos and the stories Sienna told him about a man who'd wanted to be a mechanic, who'd loved old Chevys and terrible action movies, who'd cried when he first held his son. Gone. All of it gone. And here she was, 4 years later, watching her baby eat half a piece of stale bread in a freezing house on the night before Christmas Eve. The wind hit the house so hard the windows rattled. Sienna walked over and looked out. The snow was coming down so thick she couldn't see the house across the street. The weather forecast had said 8 to 12 inches. Then they'd revised it to 14 to 18. Then 24. Blizzard conditions through Christmas Day. The weatherman had set his face grave. Stay home if you can. If you lose power, go to a warming shelter. This is dangerous, folks. Potentially deadly. But the warming shelters were 10 miles away. The buses had stopped running at 6, and Sienna's car had died 2 months ago. Sold it for parts to pay the electric bill. They were trapped here, in a house that was 51 degrees and dropping, with no heat, no food, no way out. Wyatt finished his toast and looked up at her with those big brown eyes. Michael's eyes. The only part of his father he'd carry into the future. All done. All done. Sienna picked him up and carried him to the couch. It was the warmest place in the house, if you could call anywhere warm. She'd piled every blanket they owned onto it that afternoon. 3 of them. Worn thin from too many washes, but better than nothing. Tell you what she said, forcing brightness into her voice. We're going to have an adventure tonight. Wyatt's face lit up the way only a 2-year-old's could, finding magic where there was only desperation. An adventure, that's right. We're camping right here in the living room, just you and me. Camp and Sienna wrapped him in the blankets layer after layer until only his face showed. She could feel his little body trembling. The best kind of camping, inside camping, where it's safe and cozy. She climbed under the blankets with him, pulling him close. His breath was warm against her neck. Her own breath came out in white clouds. The temperature in the house had dropped another degree. Maybe 2, Mama. Yeah, baby. Why is it so cold? Her eyes stung. Because the heater broke, sweetheart. But we're going to be okay. We're tough, remember, you and me. We can handle anything. Even cold. Even cold. But she wasn't sure that was true. The forecast said teens tonight, single digits tomorrow. How long could they last? How long before the cold stopped being uncomfortable and started being dangerous? Her phone buzzed again. She pulled it out, hoping irrationally that it might be Pierce saying he had changed his mind. He'd send someone to fix the furnace. It was her sister, Chloe, calling from San Diego, where it was probably 70 degrees and sunny. Sienna almost didn't answer. She and Chloe hadn't spoken in 8 months. Not since Chloe had made it clear that Sienna's situation, as she called it, wasn't something she wanted to be associated with. Not since Chloe's new husband, a corporate lawyer who drove a Tesla, had told Sienna at Thanksgiving that poor people stayed poor because they didn't try hard enough. But maybe Chloe was calling to help. Maybe Christmas had softened her heart. Sienna answered, "Hey." Chloe's voice was bright, cheerful, completely disconnected from reality. "Hey, Mary, almost Christmas. I just wanted to call and see how you guys are doing." "We're okay." A pause. "Then I saw on the news about that blizzard hitting Detroit. That's crazy." "Yeah, it's pretty bad." Another pause. "You guys staying warm." Sienna looked at Wyatt bundled in three thin blankets on a couch in a house that was probably 49 degrees now. We're managing. Good. Good. Listen, I can't talk long. We're about to head to Bradley's parents' place for their Christmas Eve thing. His mom is doing this whole elaborate dinner. Caterers and everything. Sounds nice. It will be. Hey, I'll try to call on Christmas, okay? Give Wyatt a kiss for me. Chloe. Yeah, the furnace is broken. We don't have heat. It's supposed to be in the teens tonight. I have $9 until Friday. Silence on the other end. Then a sigh. Sienna, I can't. We just bought the house and Bradley's student loans are killing us. I'm sorry, but you've got to figure this out on your own. I'm not asking for money. I'm just telling you what's happening. Your nephew is freezing. Then call social services. They have programs for this kind of thing. I have 3 jobs, Chloe. I work 80 hours a week. I don't qualify for most programs because I make too much. And the ones I do qualify for have waiting lists 6 months long. I don't know what to tell you. Chloe's voice had gone cold. This is why I told you not to marry a soldier. This is why I told you to finish college. But you didn't listen, and now here you are. Here I am. I've got to go. Bradley's waiting. The line went dead. Sienna sat there holding the phone, feeling whatever small hope she'd been carrying drain out of her. Wyatt had fallen asleep against her shoulder, his breathing soft and steady. At least he was warm enough for now, pressed against her body under the blankets. She closed her eyes. This time she didn't count at 10. She prayed. She wasn't even sure she believed in God anymore. Not after Michael, not after 2 years of grinding poverty, despite working every hour she could find. But she prayed anyway because what else was there, please? Just get us through tonight. Just keep him safe. That's all I'm asking. Keep my baby safe. The wind answered, howling like something alive. The house shook, and the temperature kept dropping. 9:47. The wind had gotten worse. It sounded like the house was under siege, like something huge and angry was trying to tear it apart. Sienna had dozed off for a few minutes, but the cold had woken her. Even under the blankets, even with Wyatt pressed against her, she was freezing. Her hands were numb. Her feet were numb. She could see her breath in the candlelight. This was bad. This was really bad. She was trying to decide if she should risk going out into the blizzard to knock on neighbors' doors when she heard it. A sound that didn't belong to the wind. A rumble, low and deep, cutting through the storm. Sienna froze. The rumble got louder, closer. It sounded like thunder, except thunder didn't last this long. Thunder didn't growl. She carefully extracted herself from under Wyatt, making sure he stayed wrapped in the blankets, and went to the window. Through the snow, she saw lights. Lots of them. Moving slowly down her street. Motorcycles. Her heart kicked against her ribs. The bikes pulled up to her curb one after another. Sienna counted as they parked, her breath fogging the glass. 5, 10, 15, 20. 25 motorcycles lined up outside her house like some kind of convoy. 25 men climbed off, all wearing leather jackets with patches she couldn't make out through the snow. Big men, bearded men. They moved like it, stomping snow off their boots, shoulders hunched against the wind. Sienna's hands started shaking. This wasn't random. This couldn't be random. 25 bikers didn't just happen to park outside a random house in the middle of a blizzard. Someone had sent them. But who? She didn't know anyone money. She never borrowed because she knew she couldn't pay back. She didn't gamble, didn't drink, didn't do anything that would bring this kind of trouble to her door. One of them started walking toward her house. The biggest one, 6.5 feet tall at least, with a gray beard that reached his chest and shoulders like a linebacker. He looked directly at her window like he knew she was watching. Sienna stepped back. Oh, God. Oh, God. Wyatt stirred on the couch. Mama, baby, stay there. The knock came, hard, loud, 3 times. Sienna's mind raced. Call the police. With what? Her phone was at 3% battery, and she'd sold the charger last week to buy Wyatt medicine for his ear infection. Run. The back door led to an alley that was probably neck-deep in snow. Fight against 25 men. The knock came again. Sienna walked to the door like she was walking to her execution. Her hand touched the knob. It was cold as ice. "Who is it?" The voice that came back was rough-weathered but not aggressive. "Name's Sterling Morrison. We don't mean any harm, ma'am. Storm's got us trapped. We're looking for shelter." "Just for the night." Sienna's laugh came out bitter, almost hysterical. "You want shelter? Look at this place. I can't even keep my own kid warm." Silence. "Then, ma'am, we got nowhere else to go. Roads are closed. We've been riding for 6 hours trying to get ahead of this thing. We're freezing out here." Something in his voice got to her. The exhaustion, the desperation. Desperation recognized desperation, but 25 men. Hell's Angels, probably. And her alone with a 2-year-old. Every instinct screamed danger. But another voice whispered in her head. Michael's voice. The way he used to talk about his unit, about how they took care of each other. How you help people when they need it, because someday you might need help too. What if it was you out there? Sienna closed her eyes, made a decision that was probably insane, definitely dangerous, maybe the only human thing to do. She opened the door. 25 pairs of eyes looked back at her. Snow caked their beards, their jackets, their shoulders. They looked half frozen, their faces red and chapped from the wind. Some of them were older than her father would have been. Some were younger. All of them looked like they'd been riding through hell. Sterling Morrison stood closest. Up close, he was enormous. But his eyes were kind, tired and kind. "You can come in," Sienna heard herself say. "But I've got a baby in here. You cause any trouble, any at all, and I swear to God I'll make you regret it." Sterling took off his leather gloves. His hands were shaking from the cold. "Ma'am, we're not here to cause trouble. We're just trying to survive this night, same as you." Sienna stepped aside. They filed in one by one, stomping, snow, being careful not to track too much inside. The house filled up fast. 25 men in a space meant for 2 people made the walls feel like they were closing in. The living room, the kitchen, every inch of floor space suddenly occupied by bikers shedding their frozen jackets. Wyatt sat up on the couch, eyes wide as dinner plates. "Mama." "It's okay, baby." Sienna went to him, picked him up. "These are guests." One of the bikers, younger than the others, maybe early 30s, with a scar across his eyebrow, caught sight of Wyatt and smiled. "Hey, little man." Wyatt buried his face in Sienna's shoulder. "Give him space," Sterling said quietly to the others. "Everybody find a spot. Don't touch nothing that ain't yours." They spread out, some sitting on the floor, others leaning against walls. The house went quiet except for the wind outside and the sound of snow melting off leather jackets. Already Sienna could feel it, the temperature rising. 25 large men generated a lot of warmth. The house felt less like a freezer and more like an actual room. Sterling approached slowly, the way you'd approach a spooked animal. "Thank you," he said. "Truly, we won't forget this." Sienna's voice came out small. "I don't have much, no food to offer, no heat." Sterling frowned. "No heat furnace broke this afternoon. Can't afford to fix it." Sterling turned to the others. "Gears Bulldog, check the furnace." 2 men stood immediately. One was lean and wiry, maybe 45, with grease under his fingernails. The other was stockier, with tattoos running up his neck. They headed toward the basement door without being told twice. "Wait," Sienna said. "You don't have to do that." Sterling looked at her. "Ma'am, you let us in from the cold. Least we can do is try to get you some heat." Sienna felt her composure fracture. When was the last time someone had helped her without asking for something in return? When was the last time anyone had tried? Her eyes stung. She turned away embarrassed, but Sterling had already seen. "Hey," his voice was soft. "It's been a hard day, hasn't it?" Sienna nodded, her voice caught. "It's going to be okay." Sterling gestured to the others. "We're all pretty good with our hands. We'll figure something out." From the basement, a voice echoed up. "Steele, come look at this." Sterling disappeared downstairs. The other bikers started quietly talking among themselves, but they kept their voices low, kept glancing at Wyatt to make sure they weren't scaring him. Sienna sat back down on the couch, Wyatt in her lap. This was surreal. 23 bikers in her living room, 2 more fixing her furnace. This wasn't how tonight was supposed to go. One of the men near the window spoke up, gray-haired, maybe 60, with white hair pulled back in a ponytail. "Ma'am, you got any candles under the sink, kitchen?" He stood and found them, 5 of them half melted from last winter. He lit them and placed them around the room. The flickering light made everything feel almost peaceful. "I'm Ash," the white-haired man said. "That guy checking your furnace, the tall one that's gears, best mechanic in 3 states. If it can be fixed, he'll fix it." "And if it can't," Sienna asked. Ash shrugged. "Then we'll figure something else out." Sterling came back upstairs. Gears and the other biker bulldog followed. Sterling's face was grim. "Your heat exchangers cracked," Sterling said. "That's not something we can patch tonight. It needs to be replaced." Sienna's heart sank. How much with parts and labor? Probably 1,500, maybe 2 grand, $2,000. Sienna almost laughed. She might as well have said 2 million. "Okay," Sienna said quietly. "Thank you for looking." Sterling exchanged glances with Gears. Something unspoken passed between them. "We'll deal with it in the morning," Sterling said. "For tonight, we'll keep the candles going. Body heat from all of us should keep this place warmer than it was." He was right. Already the house felt less frigid. Not warm, but survivable. Wyatt had relaxed enough to peek out from Sienna's shoulder. He pointed at Bulldog, who had a full beard decorated with 2 small braids. "Funny," Wyatt said. Bulldog grinned. "You like my beard, little man?" Wyatt nodded. "Got any other kids?" one of the bikers asked Sienna. "No, just Wyatt, just us." "Dad in the picture?" Sienna's voice went flat. "No," the biker nodded, reading the message loud and clear. "Well, kids, lucky to have you." Sienna didn't feel lucky. She felt exhausted. Sterling sat down on the floor near the couch. "How long you been on your own?" 4 years, since my husband died." "I'm sorry." Sienna looked down at Wyatt. He was a soldier. "Iraq." Sterling's expression changed, softened. "Gulf War myself, long time ago." "Thank you for your service," Sienna said automatically. "Same to your husband." They sat in silence for a moment. Outside, the wind howled. Inside, 25 men and 1 woman and 1 child huddled against the cold. "What were you all doing out in this storm?" Sienna asked. "Coming back from a toy drive in Flint," Sterling said. "We do it every Christmas Eve. Collect toys, deliver them to shelters and group homes. Kids whose parents are in jail or dead or just gone. We try to make sure they get something on Christmas morning." Sienna looked around at the men in her living room, looked at their leather jackets, their beards, their tattoos, looked at Sterling's kind, tired eyes. "Hell's Angels?" she asked. Sterling smiled. "Detroit chapter. We're not what people think. Most of us are veterans. All of us have day jobs. We just ride. It's the one thing that makes sense. You were bringing toys to kids and got caught in the storm. We thought we could beat it. We were wrong." Sienna felt something shift in her chest. These men weren't monsters. They were just people. People who'd been out trying to help kids have a decent Christmas. "I'm sorry," Sienna said, "for judging. When I opened that door, I thought you were dangerous." Sterling's smile was sad. "Can't blame you for that. World teaches women to be afraid of men like us. Are you dangerous?" Sterling considered the question. "To people who hurt the weak, yeah. We're very dangerous. But to a single mom trying to keep her kid warm on Christmas Eve?" He shook his head. "You got nothing to fear from us, ma'am." Sienna wanted to believe him. Strangely, she did. Wyatt yawned, a big toddler yawn that made several of the bikers smile. "He should sleep," Ash said. "Kid needs rest. We don't have much in the way of bedrooms," Sienna said. "Just the one, and it's not much warmer than out here." "Put him down in there," Sterling said. "We'll keep watch. Make sure the candles stay lit. Keep the place as warm as we can, Sienna hesitated. Trust these men with her child sleeping in the next room. But what choice did she have? And more importantly, what had they done to earn her distrust? They'd been nothing but respectful since they walked through her door. She stood, carried Wyatt to the bedroom, laid him down on the twin mattress on the floor, covered him with the one good blanket she'd been saving. Night, baby. Night, mama. Wyatt's eyes were already closing. When Sienna came back to the living room, the bikers had settled in. Some were sitting with their backs against the wall. Others had found spots on the floor. One of them had pulled out a harmonica and was playing something soft and bluesy. Another was shuffling a deck of cards. "You play poker?" the card guy asked Sienna. "Not really. We'll teach you. Nothing serious, just something to pass the time." Sienna sat down on the floor with them. 5 bikers and her playing 5-card draw by candlelight while a blizzard raged outside. If someone had told her this morning that this was how her Christmas Eve would end, she would have thought they were insane. But here she was, and for the first time in months, she didn't feel alone. "So what's your story?" Ash asked as he dealt. "How'd you end up here?" Sienna picked up her cards. 2 pair. "Not bad, long story." "We got all night," Sterling said. Sienna looked at him, then at the others. Their faces were open, genuinely curious. When was the last time someone had asked about her life and actually wanted to know? "I grew up in Detroit," she started. "East Side. My mama raised me and my sister by herself. Dad left when I was 4. Mama worked 2 jobs, kept us fed, kept us clothed. She was everything." Sienna's voice caught. "She died 4 years ago. Cancer. By the time they found it, it had spread everywhere." "I'm sorry," Sterling said quietly. "After she died, I kind of fell apart. Met a guy, Michael. He was Army, 23 years old and full of plans about the future we were going to build. I was 22 and pregnant, and so in love, I thought nothing could go wrong." She threw down a card, picked up another. "He deployed to Iraq when I was 6 months pregnant. IED got him 3 months before Wyatt was born. He never even got to hold his son." The room was quiet except for the wind and the harmonica. "I tried to make it work, kept working, saved up. But after Wyatt was born, the medical bills buried me. I couldn't pay rent and bills and daycare. So I found this place. Cheap rent. Then I took on more jobs. But no matter how much I work, it's never enough." "You're doing a good job," Gear said. "Kid looks healthy, happy. He doesn't know how poor you are." Sienna smiled sadly. "That's the one thing I've managed to protect him from. But I don't know how much longer I can keep it up." "What do you want?" Sterling asked. "If money wasn't an issue, what would you do?" Sienna looked all at him. No one had asked her that in years. "I'd open a restaurant," she said. "Soul food. My mama taught me. I can cook, really cook. The kind of food that fills you up and makes you feel like somebody loves you. I've got the recipes, got the ideas, but dreams don't pay bills." "Dreams can become reality," Ash said, "with the right push." Sienna shrugged. "Maybe in a different life." They played cards for another hour. Sienna won a hand, lost 2. The bikers told stories about their rides, about Afghanistan and Iraq and Desert Storm, about brothers they'd lost along the way. Every single one of them had known hardship. Every single one of them understood struggle in ways most people never would. By midnight, exhaustion was pulling at Sienna's eyelids. "You should sleep," Sterling said. "We'll take shifts. Keep the candles going. Keep watch." "I can't ask you to do that." "You're not asking. We're offering." Sienna was too tired to argue. She lay down on the couch. Someone she didn't see who draped a leather jacket over her like a blanket. It smelled like motorcycle exhaust, in old leather and something else. Something safe. She closed her eyes. Tomorrow these men would leave. Tomorrow she'd be alone again with a broken furnace and $9 and no idea how to fix her life. But tonight, for just tonight, she wasn't alone. And maybe that was enough. Sienna woke to the smell of coffee. Her eyes opened slowly, confused. Coffee, she didn't have coffee, hadn't been able to afford it in weeks. She sat up on the couch. The leather jacket slid off her shoulders. Morning light filtered through the windows, gray and weak. The storm had stopped. In her kitchen, Bulldog stood at the stove, somehow making something out of nothing. Sterling sat at her tiny table with Gears, both of them holding mismatched mugs. Morning, Sterling said. Hope you don't mind. Bulldog raided your pantry. He's a magician with scraps. Sienna stood. Her body was stiff from the couch. Where did the coffee come from? Gears ran to his bike, had an emergency stash in his saddlebag. Sterling held up his mug. It's instant, but it's hot. Bulldog turned from the stove. Found 4 eggs, that bread, and some butter. That's probably older than your kid. Making French toast. It ain't much, but it'll feed the little guy. Her hands trembled. You don't have to do that. Already done, Bulldog said. She wanted to protest, but the words wouldn't come. Instead, she gripped the counter and nodded once, firmly. Wyatt appeared in this bedroom doorway, rubbing his eyes. Mama, morning baby. The toddler's eyes went wide when he saw the bikers were still there. He'd probably thought last night was a dream. Hey, little man, Bulldog called. You hungry? Wyatt nodded, suddenly shy again. Come here, Sienna said. She picked him up, carried him to the table. Sterling immediately stood and offered her his chair. I can stand, Sienna protested. So can I. Sit. She sat. Bulldog brought over 2 plates, one for Wyatt with French toast cut into small pieces, one for Sienna. Eat up, we already had ours. Sienna looked at the plate, then at Bulldog. You made this from 4 eggs. What did you guys eat? We split a couple protein bars, Gears said. Don't worry about us. Sienna's hand shook as she picked up the fork. These men had given Wyatt and her the food, taken almost nothing for themselves. Wyatt dug in. The French toast disappeared fast. He was starving. Sienna had been rationing his food for days, trying to make everything stretch. Good, Bulldog asked. Good, Wyatt said through a mouthful. The other bikers started waking up, stretching, groaning about sleeping on hard floors. But nobody complained. They just started organizing themselves. Quiet, efficient. Ash came over to the table. Sterling, we got a problem. What kind? Bikes are buried. 3 feet of snow, at least. And the roads ain't plowed yet. Sterling swore under his breath. How long you think City's saying maybe by tonight? Maybe tomorrow. Sienna felt panic rising. I have to work. I have a shift at the grocery store at 2. Sterling looked at her. Ma'am, nothing's open. Whole city's shut down. It's Christmas Day. Christmas. Sienna had forgotten. She'd been so focused on survival that she'd forgotten it was actually Christmas. I need that shift, Sienna said quietly. Every hour counts. Not today, Sterling said. Today you rest. I can't afford to rest. You can't afford not to. Sterling's voice was gentle but firm. You're running on empty. I can see it. When's the last time you slept more than 4 hours? Sienna didn't answer because she couldn't remember. Wyatt finished his French toast and climbed down from Sienna's lap. He walked right up to Bulldog. More, Bulldog laughed. Kid's got an appetite. I like that. He looked at Sienna. There any stores within walking distance? Corner store 3 blocks down. But it's probably closed. Let me check. Bulldog grabbed his jacket and headed for the door. Wait, Sienna called. I only have $9. Bulldog turned back. I got it. No, I can't let you buy us food. You're not. I'm buying breakfast for myself and my brothers. You and the kid just happen to be here. He winked and walked out into the snow. Sienna sat there, overwhelmed. These men had given her warmth, food, safety, and now they were buying groceries. Wyatt had wandered over to Ash, who was showing him a silver ring with a skull on it. That's a scary face, Wyatt said. Nah, he's smiling. See, Ash pointed. He's happy. Happy skull. That's right, little man. Sienna watched them, this hardened biker being impossibly gentle with her son. Nothing made sense anymore. The world had turned upside down. Sterling sat down next to her. We need to talk about your furnace. There's nothing to talk about. I can't afford to fix it. What if I told you we could? Sienna looked at him. What Gears knows a guy who owes him a favor? Big favor. He can get you a new heat exchanger at cost. We'll install it ourselves. That's still hundreds of dollars I don't have. What if we covered it? Sienna stood up so fast her chair scraped. No, absolutely not. I don't take charity. It's not charity, Sterling said calmly. It's paying forward. Someone helped me once when I had nothing. Now I help you. Someday you'll help someone else. That's how it works. I can't pay you back. I'm not asking you to. Sienna's vision blurred. Why are you doing this? Sterling stood and faced her. Because last night you opened your door to 25 strangers in the middle of a blizzard. You had every reason to say no, every reason to be scared, but you let us in anyway. That takes courage. That takes heart. And people with heart deserve better than frozen houses and empty fridges. Gears came over, made the call. Heat exchanger will be here by noon. We'll have you up and running by tonight. Sienna couldn't speak. She just shook her head, tears spilling over. Hey, Sterling said softly, it's okay to accept help. Doesn't make you weak, makes you human. The front door burst open. Bulldog came in carrying 2 grocery bags. Store was open. Old guy running it said he opened just for emergencies. Figured this qualified. He started unpacking. Eggs, bacon, bread, milk, orange juice, cereal, coffee, real coffee. How much did that cost? Sienna asked. Don't worry about it. Bulldog, I can't let you spend your money on us. Don't worry about it. His voice wasn't harsh, just final. More bikers gathered around the kitchen. Someone found a pan. Someone else started cracking eggs. Within minutes, the tiny house smelled like bacon and coffee and something Sienna hadn't felt in years. Home. Wyatt was in heaven, running between bikers, showing off his stuffed dog to anyone who'd look. The men played along, acting impressed, asking the dog's name, making the toddler giggle. Sienna stood in the middle of it all, feeling like she'd stepped into someone else's life. Ash handed her a mug of real coffee. Drink. You look like you need it. She took it. The warmth spread through her hands, up her arms, into her chest. I don't understand, she said quietly. Why are you all being so nice? You don't have to understand, Ash said. Just accept it. They ate breakfast together. 25 bikers, 1 single mom, and a toddler who thought he was the luckiest kid alive. Sienna tried to remember the last time Wyatt had eaten this much. Had this much protein. Months. Probably months. After breakfast, the men organized themselves without being told. Some cleaned the kitchen. Others started shoveling the sidewalk. Gears and 2 others disappeared into the basement with tools. Sterling pulled Sienna aside. I need to ask you something, and I want you to be straight with me. Okay. Are you in danger? Is someone threatening you? An ex-dealer? Anybody? Sienna shook her head. No, nothing like that. I'm just poor. That's the only danger. Sterling nodded slowly. Poverty is its own kind of violence. You sound like my mother. Smart woman, the smartest. Around 11, a truck pulled up outside. A guy climbed out carrying a large box. Gears met him at the door, shook his hand, took the box. Heat exchanger, Gears announced. Let's get to work. 4 of them went into the basement. Sienna could hear them down there. Tools clanging, voices calling out instructions. The sound of men who knew what they were doing. While they worked, Sterling sat down on the couch next to Sienna. That dream you mentioned last night, the restaurant, you serious about that? Sienna shrugged. Doesn't matter if I'm serious, it's never going to happen. But if it could, would you do it in a heartbeat? Sterling nodded, filed that information away somewhere behind his eyes. What kind of food would you make? Soul food. Real soul food. Like my mama taught me. Fried chicken that's crispy outside, tender inside. Mac and cheese, that's actually cheese, not powder from a box. Collard greens with ham hocks. Cornbread that melts in your mouth. Peach cobbler that makes grown men cry. Sterling smiled. I'd eat there. You'd be my only customer. People around here, they don't trust me. Single mom, widow, no family close by. They look at me like I'm about to ask for something. People are idiots, Sterling said. People are scared. I can be scared and still be an idiot. From the basement, Gear shouted. Steele, get down here. Sterling disappeared downstairs. Sienna heard urgent voices but couldn't make out words. Bulldog noticed her tension. Probably just need an extra set of hands. Gears is a perfectionist. 20 minutes later, Sterling came back up. His face was serious. Good news or bad news, Sienna asked. Good news is we can fix it. Bad news is we found some other issues while we were down there. Couple pipes that are about to burst. Some electrical wiring that's not up to code. And your water heater is held together by prayers and duct tape. Sienna closed her eyes. How much to fix all that? Don't worry about the money. Worry about whether you trust us to do it right. This is too much. You've already done too much. We haven't done nearly enough. Sterling crouched down in front of her. Listen to me. These things need to be fixed. If they're not, you're looking at floods, fires, or worse. We can fix them today. All of them. Or we can walk away and you can wait for disaster. Your choice, do I gaze? Sienna knew it wasn't really a choice. Fix it. That's what I thought. Sterling stood and called down to the basement. We're good. Fix everything. The work continued. More trips to the hardware store, more tools, more noise. Wyatt eventually fell asleep on the couch, worn out from excitement. Sienna tried to help where she could, but mostly she just stayed out of the way. These men worked like a machine, each one knowing their role without being told. Around 2 in the afternoon, someone turned on the thermostat. The furnace kicked on. Warm air started flowing through the vents. Sienna put her hand over one, felt the heat, and started crying again. She couldn't stop crying. All the stress, all the fear, all the months of barely holding on. It poured out of her. Bulldog handed her a paper towel. Merry Christmas. Best Christmas I've had in years, Sienna managed to say. Gears came upstairs, covered in dust and grease. All fixed. Heat exchanger pipes, wiring water heater. You're solid for at least 5 years, probably 10. How can I ever thank you? Gears shrugged. You already did. Last night, the bikers started gathering their things, getting ready to leave. The roads were finally plowed. They could get home. Wyatt woke up and immediately panicked when he saw them packing. No stay. We gotta go, little man, Bulldog said. Got our own families waiting. But you're my friends. Bulldog knelt down. We are your friends, and friends don't disappear just because they leave. We'll see you again. Promise, promise. Sterling shook Sienna's hand. You take care of yourself and that boy. I will. Thank you for everything. Keep fighting, Sterling said. You're stronger than you know. They filed out one by one, started their bikes. The noise was incredible. 25 engines roaring to life. Wyatt watched from the window, waving at each one. Sienna stood in the doorway as they pulled away, disappearing down the street until the sound faded to nothing. The house felt empty without them, but it was warm. God, it was warm. Wyatt tugged on her sleeve. Mama, I'm hungry. Sienna looked in the kitchen. Bulldog had left behind enough food for a week. She made Wyatt a sandwich. Real turkey from the deli. Watched him eat it, her heart so full it hurt. That night she put Wyatt to bed in a warm room, with a full belly, in clean pajamas that one of the bikers had somehow produced from somewhere. Best Christmas ever, Wyatt mumbled as he drifted off. Sienna kissed his forehead. Yeah, baby, best Christmas ever. She went to the living room, sat on the couch. Tomorrow reality would come back. The bills, the choices, the struggle. But tonight she had heat, and food, and hope. Her phone buzzed. A text from an unknown number. This is Sterling, just checking you're okay. Heat's still working. Sienna smiled. Type back. Heat's perfect. Thank you again. Don't mention it. Get some rest. She put the phone down, looked around her small, warm house. 24 hours ago, she'd been at the end of her rope. Now she had a functioning furnace, a full stomach, and the strangest story she'd ever lived through. She fell asleep on the couch, warm for the first time in months. The next morning, Sienna woke to pounding on her door. Aggressive, angry pounding. She jumped up, heart racing. Through the window, she saw Harlan Pierce standing on the porch, red-faced, furious. Open this door, Sienna. She opened it. Mr. Pierce, what? What the hell did you do? He pushed past her into the house. Who gave you permission to have work done? My furnace was broken. It was an emergency. You were supposed to call me first. That's in your lease. Any repairs have to be approved by me. It was Christmas Eve. You weren't answering. My son was freezing. Pierce's face got redder. I don't care if it was the apocalypse. You violated your lease. And who were those people, my neighbor called me? Said there were gang members here. Motorcycles everywhere. You brought gang members into my property. They weren't gang members. They were just people who needed help. I want to know who paid for the repairs. Every cent. Or you're out. Sienna felt her stomach drop. Out. Evicted. You've got 30 days, Pierce said. Mr. Pierce, please. I can't find another place in 30 days. Not in the middle of winter. Not with a toddler. Should have thought of that before you threw a biker party in my rental. He headed for the door. 30 days, Sienna. And if you're late on February rent by even one day, you're out in 15. He slammed the door behind him. Sienna stood there, the warmth of the house suddenly meaningless. She'd been saved yesterday, only to be condemned today. Wyatt patted out from the bedroom. Mama, why was that man yelling? Nothing, baby, just grown-up stuff. But it wasn't nothing. It was everything falling apart again, faster than she could fix it. Her phone sat on the counter. Sterling's number in her recent texts. Her thumb hovered over the call button. She couldn't. She wouldn't. These men had done enough. She couldn't keep asking for help. She put the phone down, picked it up again, put it down. Her pride wrestled with her desperation, and desperation won. She called. Sterling answered on the second ring. Sienna, everything okay? No, she said, her voice breaking. Nothing's okay. Sterling listened without interrupting while Sienna explained everything. The landlord, the threat, the 30 days. When she finished, silence hung on the line for a long moment. Give me 20 minutes, Sterling finally said. Don't do anything. Don't call anyone. Just wait. Sterling, I can't ask you to. You're not asking. I'm telling. 20 minutes. He hung up. Sienna sat on the couch, hands trembling. Wyatt climbed up next to her, sensing something was wrong, the way children always did. Mama said Mama's just tired, baby. I can help. Wyatt touched her arm gently. Make it better. Sienna pulled him close, breathed in the baby shampoo smell of his hair. This was why she kept fighting. This little person who didn't know yet how hard the world could be. 15 minutes later, she heard them. The rumble of motorcycles rolling down her street. Not just one, all of them. 25 bikes parking outside her house again. Sterling knocked once, then walked in without waiting. Behind him came Gear's Bull's dog, Ash, and 5 others she recognized from Christmas. Tell me exactly what he said, Sterling ordered. Word for word, Sienna repeated the conversation with Pierce. Every threat, every insult. Sterling's jaw tightened with each sentence. He can't evict you for that, Gears said. Emergency repairs are protected under tenant rights, especially when it involves heat and winter. He'll find another reason, Sienna said. He's been looking for an excuse since I moved in. Single mom, widow. He thinks I'm trouble. He's right, Bulldog said. You are trouble for bigots like him. Sterling pulled out his phone, made a call. Yeah, it's Sterling Morrison. I need to talk to Harlan Pierce. Tell him it's about one of his rental properties. Pause. No, he'll want to take this call. Another pause. Sterling's eyes narrowed. Harlan? Yeah, it's been a while. Listen, we need to talk about 4782 Baxter Street. Longer pause. Yeah, I know you want her out. That's what we need to discuss. In person. Today. Pause. Good. See you in an hour. He hung up. You know my landlord, Sienna asked. Went to high school with him. Sterling's face was stone. He was a piece of work then, too. What are you planning? Having a conversation. That's all. Sterling looked at Gears. Get everyone together. We're taking a ride. Where Gears asked. Pierce Properties, downtown. 20 minutes later, Sienna found herself on the back of Sterling's motorcycle holding on tight, while 24 other bikes followed behind. Wyatt was at home with Ash and Bulldog, who'd volunteered to babysit. You sure this is a good idea? Sienna shouted over the engine noise. Terrible idea, Sterling shouted back. But it's the only one we got. They roared through Detroit, heads turning at every intersection. People stopped and stared. Some took pictures. 25 Hells Angels riding in formation wasn't something you saw every day. Pierce Properties occupied a small office building in Midtown. Sterling parked right in front. Loading zone. The others lined up behind him, blocking the street. You're going to get towed, Sienna said. Let them try. They walked into the lobby. All 25 of them, leather and boots in presence that filled the space like a physical force. The receptionist's eyes went huge. Can I help you? We're here to see Harlan Pierce, Sterling said pleasantly. He's expecting us. All of you, all of us. The receptionist picked up her phone with a shaking hand. Mr. Pierce, there are some people here to see you. Pause. A lot of people? Sir. Another pause. Yes, sir. She hung up. He'll be right out. They waited in the lobby like soldiers at attention. Silent, still, intimidating without saying a word. Pierce came through the inner door, saw the crowd, stopped dead. His face went from confused to angry to scared in 3 seconds flat. Sterling, what the hell is this? This is me asking you to reconsider Sienna's eviction. Sterling's voice was calm, reasonable, which somehow made it more frightening. This is harassment. I'll call the police. Go ahead. We'll wait. Pierce's eyes darted around, looking for backup that wasn't coming. His receptionist had made herself very small behind her desk. This is a business matter, Pierce said. Between me and my tenant. She's not just your tenant. She's under our protection now. Your protection. What is this, the mafia? We're concerned citizens, Gears said. Concerned about a widow being illegally evicted in the middle of winter. It's not illegal. She violated her lease. She made emergency repairs, Sterling said, which is her right under Michigan law. You want to take this to Housing Court Harlan? Because we'll go. We'll bring lawyers, real ones, the kind who work for people who've been discriminated against. Pierce's face flushed. I'm not discriminating. No, so you evict all your tenants who make emergency repairs, or just the widows. This isn't about, Pierce sputtered. Here's what's going to happen, Sterling said, stepping closer. You're going to tear up that eviction notice. You're going to put in writing that Sienna's lease is good for another year. Same rent, and you're going to fix anything else in that house that needs fixing. On your dime, like you're supposed to, and if I don't, then we'll make sure everyone in Detroit knows Harlan Pierce throws widows and toddlers onto the street at Christmas. We'll post it everywhere. Facebook, Twitter, every local news station. We'll picket your office every single day, and business will get very, very difficult for you. Pierce looked at each biker in turn, trying to find weakness. He didn't find any. This is extortion. This is negotiation, Sterling corrected. We're asking nicely, once. The room fell silent. Sienna could hear her own heartbeat pounding in her ears. This was insane. This was going to backfire. Pierce would call the cops. Sterling would get arrested, and it would all be her fault. But Pierce's shoulders sagged. Fine, 1 year, same rent. But I want those repairs documented. Receipts, permits, everything. Dungear said, I'll have everything to you by end of business today. Pierce looked at Sienna. You're more trouble than you're worth. That's enough, Sterling said. His voice dropped to something dangerous. She's worth more than you'll ever understand. Now go type up that lease amendment. We'll wait. Pierce retreated to his office. 20 minutes later, he came back with papers. New lease, 1 year, same rent. A clause about emergency repairs at heavily favored tenants. Sign it, Pierce said, not looking at Sienna. She signed with a shaking hand. Pierce signed too. Made copies, shoved one set at Sienna, walked away without another word. That went well, Bulldog said. They walked out to the bikes. Sienna felt like she was floating. One problem solved. One massive crushing problem just erased in half an hour. Thank you, she said to Sterling. I don't know how to stop thanking us. Sterling interrupted. Seriously, it's getting old. They rode back to Sienna's house. Wyatt was playing cards with Ash, badly, making up rules as he went. Did you win? Ash asked when they walked in. We won. Sterling confirmed. Wyatt abandoned the cards and ran to Sienna. Mama, I got 2 houses and a hotel. That's Monopoly, little man, Bulldog said. We were playing Go Fish. Oh, Wyatt considered this. I got fish too. Everyone laughed. The tension from the confrontation dissolved into something lighter. Gears pulled Sterling aside. Sienna watched them talk, heads close together, voices low. Gears showed Sterling something on his phone. Sterling's eyebrows went up. Sienna, Sterling called, Lord. Come here a second. She walked over. How serious were you about that restaurant? Sienna blinked. What? Last night you talked about wanting to open a restaurant. Soul Food. How serious were you? I mean, it's a dream, not a plan. Gears turned his phone around. On the screen was a photo of a small storefront with a for lease sign in the window. This place is on Davidson Street, Gears said. Owner's a friend of mine. It was a diner. Closed 6 months ago. Kitchen still intact. Tables, chairs, everything. He's been trying to rent it, but nobody's biting. I can't afford to rent a restaurant space. What if you could? Sterling asked. I can't. The deposit alone would be, what if we helped? Sienna shook her head. No, you've done too much already. I can't. Here's the thing, Sterling interrupted. We've been looking for a community project, something to give back. You know we do the toy drive every year, but we wanted something bigger, more permanent. So you want to open a restaurant? No. We want to help you open a restaurant. Sienna's laugh came out bitter. I don't have money for rent, equipment, licenses, food costs, employees. I don't have anything. You have the talent, Gears said. And the dream. That's more than most people got. Dreams don't pay bills, no, Sterling said. But they give people a reason to work. Look, we're not saying it'll be easy. We're saying it's possible if you're willing to work for it. Sienna looked around the room. Every biker was watching her, waiting. This is crazy. Absolutely crazy, Ash agreed. Best ideas usually are. I have 3 jobs. I have a toddler. I have no savings. Bad credit. 0 restaurant experience outside of working at a diner. So you're saying, yes, Bulldog asked. I'm saying you're all insane. That's not a no, Sterling pointed out. Sienna closed her eyes. Her mother's voice echoed in her head. Baby, when opportunity knocks, you don't ask for ID. You open the door. If I did this, Sienna said slowly. If. What would it look like? Sterling smiled. Gears show her the numbers. Gears pulled up a spreadsheet on his phone. First month's rent, security deposit, basic renovations, licenses and permits, initial food costs. We're looking at about $15,000 to get started. $15,000. Sienna's voice went up 3 octaves. Where would I get $15,000 from us? Sterling said simply. I can't take $15,000 from you. It's not a gift. It's an investment. We put up the seed money, you pay us back over time, through profits. 15% until the loan's paid. Then you own it all. No interest, no pressure, just when you can. And if I fail, if the restaurant goes under, Sterling shrugged, then you fail. So what? At least you tried. I'd owe you $15,000. And we'd forgive it, Gears said. We're not loan sharks. We're just guys who believe in you. Moisture blurred her vision. You don't even know me. We know enough, Ash said. We know you opened your door to strangers in a storm. We know you work 80 hours a week to feed your kid. We know you're a fighter. That's all we need to know. Wyatt touched her arm. Mama okay? Yeah, baby, Mama's good. Bulldog picked him up. You got that right, little man. Sienna wiped her eyes. I need to think about this. Take your time, Sterling said. But the space won't stay available forever. Guy's got other people interested. How long do I have? Week? Maybe 2. Sienna's mind raced. A restaurant. Her own restaurant. The dream she'd buried under bills and exhaustion suddenly within reach. But what if she failed? What if she took their money and the restaurant flopped and she was worse off than before? What if she didn't try? What if she spent the rest of her life wondering what if? Can I see it? The space. Just Sterling grin. Let's go right now. They piled onto the motorcycles again, this time with Bulldog staying behind with Wyatt. The ride to Davison Street took 10 minutes. The storefront looked smaller in person, tucked between a laundromat and a cell phone repair shop. But it had good bones. Gears unlocked the door. Apparently his friend had given him a key. They walked inside. The space smelled musty, like it had been closed up too long. Dust covered everything, but the kitchen and back was professional grade. 6-burner stove, industrial oven, prep stations, walk-in freezer. Needs a good cleaning, Gear said. And the dining room needs work, but structurally it's sound. Sienna walked through the space, her imagination already running wild. Tables here, bar seating there, a chalkboard menu on that wall. She could see it. God help her, she could actually see it. How many seats, she asked. 35. Maybe 40 if you squeeze, Gears said. That's small. Start small, grow big, Sterling said. You don't want to overextend right out the gate. Sienna ran her hand along the counter. I'd need to quit my other jobs. Focus on this full time. That's the idea, in childcare for Wyatt. We'll figure it out, Sterling said, one problem at a time. Sienna turned to face them. Why are you doing this? Really? Sterling took a long breath. 10 years ago, I was homeless, living under an overpass, drinking myself to death. A guy named Carlos pulled me out, got me into a program, helped me get clean, gave me a job at his garage. He saved my life. Sterling's voice got rough. Carlos died 5 years ago. Heart attack. I never got to repay him. So now I pay it forward. That's what we all do. That's what the club is really about. We take care of our own, Gears added, and our own just expanded to include you. Something shifted in her ribcage. The wall she'd built over 4 years, brick by brick, wound by wound, began to crumble. I don't know if I can do this. You can, Ash said, but you got to believe it first. Sienna looked around the empty restaurant one more time. Her mother had always said, God opens doors, but you got to walk through them. This was the door. She took a breath, let it out. Okay, let's do it. The bikers erupted in cheers. Gears clapped her on the back so hard she stumbled forward. Sterling shook her hand with both of his smiling wider than she'd seen yet. You won't regret this, he promised. I already regret it, Sienna said, but I'm doing it anyway. They spent the next hour walking through the space, making plans. Gears took measurements. Sterling made calls to contractors he knew. Ash took notes on his phone about what needed to be done first. Sienna's head spun with possibilities and logistics and fear and excitement all tangled together. On the ride back to her house, she kept thinking about what Sterling had said, about Carlos, about paying forward. Maybe that's what life was. Not a series of transactions, but a chain of kindness that passed from person to person until it came back around. Maybe she could be part of that chain. When they got back, Wyatt ran to greet her. Did you see it? Did you see the restaurant? I saw it, baby. Is it good? It's perfect. That night after the bikers left and Wyatt was asleep, Sienna sat at her kitchen table with a notebook. Started making lists, menu items, supply vendors, staffing needs, marketing ideas. Her phone buzzed. A text from Sterling. Get some sleep. Tomorrow the real work starts. Sienna smiled and typed back. I'm too excited to sleep. Then make it count. Start planning. She did. She planned until 2 in the morning, her mind racing with recipes and possibilities. For the first time in 4 years, she felt something she'd almost forgotten. Hope. The planning lasted 4 days before reality hit hard. Sienna sat across from Gears at the diner where she still worked mornings. Papers spread between them. Health permits, business licenses, insurance requirements. Each one cost money she didn't have, even with the bikers' help. Food handler's license alone is 300 Gears, said, tapping the form. And you need it before you can open. I can cover that from my paycheck this week, Sienna said, doing math in her head. It meant no groceries, but Bulldog had been dropping off food every other day anyway. Then there's the fire inspection, occupancy permit. You sure you don't want a liquor license? No liquor. Sienna interrupted. Can't afford the license. Can't afford the liability. Just food. Gears nodded, crossing something off his list. Smart. Keep it simple at first. Sienna's manager, Carol, walked past carrying coffee. She glanced at their papers and snorted. You really doing that? Opening a restaurant? Trying to. Carol shook her head. You know 90% of restaurants fail in the first year, right? Thanks for the encouragement, Carol. I'm being realistic. You got no experience running a business, no capital, no safety net. You got a kid to feed. I know what I got, Sienna said, her jaw tight. Carol walked away muttering something about pipe dreams. Gears watched her go. Don't listen to her. She's not wrong, though. She's not right either. Yeah, it's risky, but playing it safe hasn't been working out so great, has it? Sienna couldn't argue with that. Her phone rang. Sterling's number. We got a problem, Sterling said when she answered. Sienna's stomach dropped. What kind? The good kind. Gears' friend, the landlord. He's got another tenant interested, offering 6 months' rent up front. So we lost it. Not yet. But we need to move fast. I need to know right now if you're all in. Because if you are, we're signing papers tomorrow. Sienna looked at Gears, who was watching her with steady eyes. She thought about Wyatt, about her 3 dead-end jobs, about spending the rest of her life barely surviving. I'm in. You sure know. But I'm doing it anyway. Sterling laughed. That's the spirit. Meet me at the space tomorrow at 9. Bring your social security card. We're making this official. He hung up. Gears grinned. You just jumped off the cliff. Yeah, Sienna took a breath. Now I got to figure out if I can fly. The next morning, Sienna stood outside the storefront with Wyatt on her hip, staring at the door like it might bite her. Sterling pulled up on his bike, Gears right behind him. 2 more bikers she didn't recognize followed. These are the lawyers, Sterling said, gesturing to the newcomers. Well, one's a lawyer. Other one just likes to argue. The actual lawyer, a woman named Meredith with short gray hair and kind eyes, extended her hand. Meredith Kane, I handle contracts for the club. Pro bono. Pro bono, Sienna echoed. Means free Gears clarified. I know what it means. I just don't understand why. Meredith smiled. Sterling helped my son 10 years ago. Pulled him out of a bad crowd. Got him into trade school. He's an electrician now. Married. 2 kids. I've been waiting for a chance to pay Sterling back. This is it. The landlord arrived. Short man named Dutch Vandenberg. Nervous hands. He unlocked the door and they all filed inside. You sure about this? Sienna Dutch asked as he laid papers on the counter. Restaurant business is tough. Very tough. Everyone keeps telling me that. Because it's true. I ran this place for 30 years. Know why I closed? Because I was working 16-hour days at 70 years old and still barely breaking even. You're really selling it, Dutch Sterling said dryly. Dutch shrugged. I tell the truth, but if she wants to try, I give her a good deal. First month free. After that, 1,500 a month. 1,500, Sienna's voice cracked. The ad said 1,200. That was before I had another offer. Business is business. Sterling stepped forward, and that other offer fell through this morning. Didn't it? Dutch's eyes shifted. Maybe. So the price is 1,200, like you originally said. Dutch, I got to make money too. 1,200 sterling, repeated, or we walk. And you explained to your wife why you turned down a guaranteed tenant because you got greedy. Dutch grumbled something under his breath, then waved his hand. Fine, 1,200. But she signs 2-year lease, and she pays for repairs herself. Meredith stepped in. 1-year lease with option to renew. Landlord responsible for structural repairs. Tenant responsible for cosmetic. Standard terms. They negotiated for 20 minutes. Sienna stood there holding Wyatt, watching these people fight for her. Finally, Meredith slid papers across the counter. Read it first. Don't sign anything you don't understand. Sienna read every word. 1-year lease, 1,200 monthly, first month free. She was responsible for utilities insurance and maintaining the kitchen equipment. Dutch was responsible for plumbing, electrical, and structural issues. Her hand shook as she signed. Congratulations, Dutch said, handing her keys. You're now a business owner. Sienna stared at the keys. They felt heavier than they should. After Dutch left, Sterling gathered everyone. All right, here's the plan. We've got 4 weeks to get this place ready. 4 weeks to turn it from a dusty storage space into a functioning restaurant. 4 weeks, Sienna's eyes went wide. That's impossible. So was surviving that blizzard, Gears pointed out. We do impossible pretty well. They spent the next hour making lists and assigning tasks. Sterling would handle contractor connections and equipment sourcing. Gears would manage the renovation work. Meredith would handle paperwork and permits. Bulldog volunteered to help with menu development and initial food costs. What about me, Ash asked. Marketing, Sterling said. You're good with computers. Build her a website. Set up social media. Make some noise. I can do that. Ash pulled out his phone and started typing immediately. Sienna's head spun. This is moving so fast. It has to, Sterling said. The longer we wait, the more money we burn. We hit the ground running or we don't hit it at all. Wyatt squirmed. Mama, I'm hungry. I know, baby. We'll eat soon. Bulldog crouched down to Wyatt's level. Hey, little man, you want to help us pick paint colors? Wyatt's eyes lit up. Paint. Sure, we need someone to test them, make sure they're good. That's an important job. I can do it. Sienna watched Bulldog distract her son with talk of paint colors and brushes. These men had no obligation to care, but they did anyway. When do we start? She asked Sterling. Tomorrow, 6 a.m. Wear clothes you don't mind ruining. That night, Sienna's phone rang. Unknown number. She almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. Is this Sienna Brooks? A woman's voice. Official. Cold. Yes. Who's this? I'm calling from Child Protective Services. We received a report about your son's living conditions. I need to schedule a home visit. Sienna's blood went cold. What? What report? I can't disclose the source, but we take all reports seriously. Are you available tomorrow at 2 p.m.? I'm working. This is mandatory. Ms. Brooks, tomorrow at 2, or we'll have to escalate. The line went dead. Sienna sat in her car, her whole body numb. Someone had called CPS. Someone wanted to take Wyatt. She knew exactly who. Mrs. Caldwell, the neighbor who'd been watching from across the street every time the bikers showed up, who'd given her suspicious looks and tight smiles ever since Sienna moved in. Sienna called Sterling before she even pulled out of the parking space. They called CPS, she said, her voice breaking. Someone reported me. They're coming tomorrow at 2. Who called them? That woman. Mrs. Caldwell. Had to be. Nobody else has a problem with me. Sterling swore. Where are you? Still at the restaurant. Wyatt's in the car. Stay there. I'm coming. 10 minutes later, Sterling's motorcycle pulled up. He walked to her car and opened the door. Sienna was shaking so hard she couldn't hold the steering wheel. They're going to take him, she whispered. They're going to say I'm unfit because I'm working with bikers, because I quit my jobs, because I'm starting a restaurant that doesn't exist yet. They're not taking anybody, Sterling said firmly. Not on my watch. You can't stop CPS. Watch me. Sterling pulled out his phone and made a call. Meredith, yeah, it's Sterling. Emergency. Someone called CPS on Sienna. They're coming tomorrow at 2. Can you be there? Pause. Good. Bring documentation. Everything we got. Another pause. Yeah, I think so too. See you tomorrow. He hung up and looked at Sienna. Meredith's going to be at your house when they show up. She deals with CPS cases all the time. She knows how to handle this. What if they don't care? What if they decide I'm a bad mother, then they're idiots, and Meredith will tear them apart in court? But it won't come to that. Your house is clean. Wyatt is healthy and happy. You've got steady income. They've got nothing. I don't have steady income. I quit 2 of my jobs to start a business. That's initiative, not instability. Trust me, they see way worse every day. Sienna wanted to believe him, but the fear had its claws in deep. Sterling crouched next to the car so he was eye level with her. Listen to me. You're a good mother. The best. Anyone who spends 5 minutes with you and Wyatt can see that. CPS isn't going to take a happy, healthy kid from a loving parent just because some bitter old woman made a phone call. You don't know that. Yeah, I do. And tomorrow you're going to know it too. Sienna closed her eyes and forced herself to breathe. In, out, in, out. Okay, she finally said. Okay, go home, get some rest. Meredith will call you in the morning with instructions. Sienna drove home in a fog. She carried sleeping Wyatt inside, put him to bed, then sat on the couch staring at nothing. Her phone buzzed constantly. Texts from Sterling checking in. From Gears offering to do anything she needed. From Bulldog asking if Wyatt wanted to come paint tomorrow to get him out of the house during the visit. These men she'd known for less than a week were circling the wagons, protecting her. The next morning, Meredith showed up at 11:30 with a briefcase and calm confidence that made Sienna feel slightly less like she was dying. First things first, Meredith said, walking through the house. This place is clean, well-maintained, age-appropriate for a toddler. Good. Do you have food in the house? Yes. Bulldog keeps dropping off groceries. Show me. Sienna opened the refrigerator. It was full. Milk, eggs, cheese, fresh vegetables, fruit, sandwich meat, yogurt, more food than she'd had in months. Meredith nodded. Good. Wyatt's room. They walked to the bedroom. Wyatt's mattress on the floor had clean sheets. His clothes were folded in a plastic bin. He had toys. Not many, but enough. The room was warm. The heat works now. Yes, the bikers fixed it. Perfect. Do you have documentation of that? Gears said he'd send me receipts and permits. Get those today, before they arrive. Meredith pulled out her phone and texted someone. I just told Gears he'll have them to you within the hour. What else? Meredith sat on the couch and pulled out papers. They're going to ask about your employment, your support system, Wyatt's health and development, your mental state, your relationship with the bikers, my relationship. They'll want to know if you're romantically involved with any of them, if they're living here, if they're around Wyatt unsupervised. No to all of that. They're friends. That's it. Good. Stick to that. Don't elaborate unless asked directly. Don't volunteer information. Answer questions simply and honestly. Sienna's hands twisted together. What if they ask about the restaurant? Tell them the truth. You're opening a business with the help of investors. You have a signed lease and documentation. It's a legitimate venture. What if they say I'm being irresponsible, quitting stable jobs for a risky business? Then I'll point out that entrepreneurship is protected activity and that you still have income from your remaining job, plus documented support from community members. They have no grounds to claim instability based on ambition. Meredith's phone rang. She answered, listened, nodded. Good. Bring it all. She hung up. Gears is on his way with documentation, permits, receipts, inspection reports, everything. We're building a paper trail that shows you're responsible and supported. This feels like overkill. It's not. CPS operates on documentation. Feelings don't matter. Facts do. We're giving them facts. Gears arrived 30 minutes later with a folder an inch thick. Permits for the furnace repair, receipts for materials, photos of the work, a signed statement from him attesting to the repairs being up to code. This is perfect, Meredith said, flipping through. This shows you made responsible emergency repairs to ensure your child's safety. That's exactly what a good parent does. What about the restaurant stuff? Gears asked. You have the lease right here. Gears pulled it out, signed and notarized. Business license application, filed yesterday. Should be approved next week. Meredith assembled everything into organized sections. By the time she was done, it looked like Sienna was preparing to apply for a loan, not defend herself against accusations of neglect. Bulldog arrived at 1:30 with Wyatt, who'd spent the morning at the restaurant painting test patches on walls. Mama, Wyatt came running. I picked blue, pretty blue. That's beautiful, baby. Sienna hugged him, not caring about the paint on his clothes. You need me to keep him longer, Bulldog asked quietly. Get him out of the house, no. They'll want to see him. See us together, all right. Call if anything goes wrong, anything. Bulldog's face was serious, anything. At exactly 2 p.m., a Honda Civic pulled up. A woman in her 40s climbed out carrying a tablet and a tired expression. Meredith opened the door before the woman could knock. Ms. Brooks is expecting you. I'm Meredith Kane, Ms. Brooks's attorney. The CPS worker's eyebrows went up. Attorney Ms. Brooks wanted to ensure this visit was documented properly and her rights protected. I'm sure you understand. The worker, her badge said Janet Morris, looked annoyed but unsurprised. Fine, let's make this quick. She walked in and looked around. Her eyes scanned every corner, every surface. Sienna felt naked under that gaze. Ms. Brooks, Janet said, I'm Janet Morris from Child Protective Services. We received a report alleging unsafe living conditions and inappropriate associations. I need to assess the home and interview you and your son. What exactly was alleged? Meredith asked. Janet consulted her tablet. Insufficient heating, inadequate food, and exposure to dangerous individuals, specifically association with a motorcycle gang. Hell's Angels, Sienna corrected, and they're not dangerous. They're my friends. Friends who are known criminals. Citation needed, Meredith said smoothly. Do you have documentation of any member currently involved in criminal activity? Janet's jaw tightened. The organization itself is classified as an outlaw motorcycle club, which is not illegal, Meredith said. Association is protected under the First Amendment. Unless you have evidence of actual criminal activity affecting the child, that allegation is baseless. Janet turned her attention to Sienna. Tell me about your employment. I work at Davidson Diner 4 mornings a week. I'm also in the process of opening my own restaurant. You quit 2 jobs to start a business. I made a strategic decision to focus my energy on a venture with higher earning potential and better hours, which will ultimately benefit my son. I have investors, a signed lease, all proper licensing and process. Sienna was parroting Meredith's earlier words, but they sounded good. Who are these investors, community members who believe in my business plan? The Hells Angels, among others. Janet made notes. So you took money from a motorcycle gang to start a restaurant? Meredith cut in. Are you suggesting it's neglectful to accept investment capital from legitimate sources? Because that's an unusual position for a government agency. Janet's face flushed. I'm trying to establish whether Ms. Brooks is making sound decisions. She is, Meredith said. Would you like to see documentation? She produced the folder. Janet flipped through it, her expression growing more frustrated with each page. The heating, Janet asked, was broken. I made emergency repairs. Everything is up to code and documented. The house is currently 72 degrees. You can verify. Food fully stocked. Feel free to check. Janet walked to the kitchen and opened the refrigerator. She stared at the contents for a long moment, then closed it. I need to speak with your son. Wyatt was sitting on the couch playing with his stuffed dog. He looked up when Janet approached. Hi, Wyatt. I'm Janet. Can I ask you some questions? Wyatt looked at Sienna. She nodded. Okay, Wyatt said softly. Do you like living here? Yeah, is your mommy nice to you? Uh-huh. Mama's the best. Do you have enough food to eat? Lots of food. Bulldog brings food all the time. And bacon. I love bacon. Who's Bulldog? My friend, he's got a funny beard. Janet made more notes. Has anyone ever hurt you? Wyatt shook his head. Mama says we don't hurt people. We help people. What about the men on motorcycles? Are you scared of them? Oh, they're nice. Sterling and Gears and Bulldog and Ash. They fixed our house, and they're helping Mama make a restaurant. I picked the bathroom color. It's blue. Janet looked at Wyatt's bright, happy face and seemed to deflate slightly. Thank you, Wyatt. She stood and turned to Sienna. Ms. Brooks, I need to see Wyatt's room and any medications or hazardous materials in the home. They walked through the house. Wyatt's room, clean, safe, warm, the bathroom. Medications were in a high cabinet, cleaning supplies locked under the sink with a child safety latch. Everything by the book. Janet made notes on her tablet for another 5 minutes, then faced Sienna. Based on what I've seen today, there's no evidence of neglect or unsafe conditions. The allegations appear to be unfounded. Sienna's knees buckled. She sat down hard on the couch, gripping the armrest. However, Janet continued, I will be noting your association with the motorcycle club in my report. If future reports are filed, that pattern will be considered. Are you saying she should stop associating with her support system? Meredith asked, her voice sharp. I'm saying perception matters, and certain associations raise red flags. Only to people with prejudices, Meredith shot back. Ms. Brooks has done nothing wrong. She's a dedicated mother providing for her child. If you or anyone else tries to weaponize bigotry against her, we'll pursue legal action for harassment. Janet's face went red. That sounds like a threat. It's a promise. Document it however you like. Janet packed up her tablet. This case is closed. But I'd advise caution, Ms. Brooks. Not everyone is as understanding as I am. She left. Sienna sat on the couch, processing slowly. They hadn't taken him. He was still here, still safe. Meredith sat next to her. You did great. Better than great. She's going to note it. That I'm friends with bikers. It's going to be in some file somewhere. Let it be. You're not doing anything illegal or harmful. If someone has a problem with it, that's their problem. Not yours. Wyatt climbed into Sienna's lap. Is that lady gone? Yeah, baby, she's gone. Good. I didn't like her. She asked weird questions. Sienna held him tight, breathing in his little kid smell. They hadn't taken him. He was still here, still safe. Meredith's phone rang. She stepped outside to take it. When she came back in, her expression was strange. That was Sterling. He wants you to come to the restaurant. Now why? He didn't say, just said it's important. Sienna's mind immediately went to disaster, fire, vandalism, something broken beyond repair. She drove to Davison Street with Wyatt in the back seat, her hands gripping the wheel too tight. When she pulled up, she saw motorcycles, lots of them, more than 25, way more. She counted them as she parked. 50, 70, 100. The street was lined with motorcycles. What's happening? She whispered. She got out of the car, lifted Wyatt onto her hip, walked toward the restaurant. The door was open. Inside, bikers filled every inch of space. The dining room was packed with leather jackets and beards and tattoos. Sterling stood in the center, talking to a man Sienna didn't recognize. When Sterling saw her, he waved her over. Sienna, this is Raven. He's the president of the Hells Angels National Chapter. Raven was enormous, 6'6" with gray hair down to his shoulders and eyes that had seen everything. He extended a hand. Heard a lot about you, Raven said. His voice was surprisingly soft. I don't understand what's happening. Word got out about what you did, Raven said. Opening your door to brothers in a storm. Helping them without asking for anything. That means something to us. Means a lot. So we called in favors, Sterling added. Brothers from all over Michigan. Some from Ohio and Indiana. They wanted to meet you and help. Help with what gears appeared from the kitchen. With everything. We've got electricians, plumbers, carpenters, painters, cooks, designers. Every skill we need to get this place open. And we've got 3 weeks to do it, Bulldog added, grinning. So we called in the army. Sienna looked around at the sea of faces, strangers who'd driven hours just to help her. Why, she asked, her voice barely audible. Raven stepped closer, because the club takes care of its own. And like Sterling said, you're one of us now, whether you wear a patch or not. Also, Raven continued, we heard about the CPS call, about that woman trying to shut you down before you even start. How did you? We hear things. Raven's face was hard. And we don't like it when people bully widows. So we're making a statement. This restaurant is under club protection. Anyone who messes with you messes with all of us. I can't let you do that. You'll scare people away. Some people maybe, Raven admitted, but the right people, the ones worth serving, they'll come because the food's good and the heart is real. The rest can eat somewhere else. Tears streamed down Sienna's face. Wyatt touched her cheek. Don't cry, Mama. I'm not sad, baby. I'm just... She couldn't finish. The emotion was too big for words. Sterling came over and put a hand on her shoulder. You showed us kindness when we needed it. Now let us show you what that kindness becomes when it multiplies. D.A. Sienna nodded, unable to speak. All right, Sterling shouted to the crowd. Let's get to work. We open in 3 weeks. The bikers erupted in cheers and immediately started organizing. Tools appeared, materials, paint, lumber. Someone started setting up a sound system. Another group headed to the kitchen. Sienna stood in the middle of it all, holding Wyatt, watching a miracle unfold. A woman with silver hair and kind eyes approached. I'm Willa Thompson. I ran a diner in Flint for 30 years before I retired. Heard you need help with recipes and prep systems. Sienna wiped her eyes. I do. Yes, I do. Good, let's talk menu. Willa pulled out a notebook. For the next hour, Sienna worked with her on streamlining recipes, creating prep schedules, designing a kitchen workflow that could handle high volume. Willa knew everything. How to price dishes, how to minimize waste, how to train staff. You're good, Willa said after Sienna explained her vision. Real good. You've got instinct. That can't be taught. Sienna smiled, a real one, not the careful half smile she'd perfected over 4 years. Thank you. Don't thank me yet. Wait until we're slammed on a Friday night and 3 orders get messed up and someone sends back a steak. Then you'll know what this business really is. Sounds terrifying, Willa laughed. It is, but it's also the best feeling in the world when you get it right. When someone takes a bite and closes their eyes because it's so good. That's what we're chasing, that moment. Sienna understood. She'd been chasing that her whole life. While she worked with Willa, the restaurant transformed around her. Walls that had been dingy yellow were now being painted a warm cream color. The floor was being stripped and refinished. Someone was fixing the broken booth in the corner. Another person was installing new light fixtures. Gears cornered her around 4 p.m. We need to talk equipment. Okay. The oven works, but it's old. Same with the grill. They'll last maybe a year before they need replacing. I can't afford new equipment. We're not buying new. We're buying used. I know a guy who liquidates restaurant equipment. He'll cut us a deal, but you need to decide. Do we put money into equipment now, or do we run what we got and save for emergencies? Sienna's head spun. I don't know. What would you do? I'd run what we got, save the cash. When something breaks, we fix it. If it can't be fixed, we replace it then. Okay? That. Gears nodded and walked off. Sterling appeared next. Ash wants to show you the website. He's been working on it all day. They went to a corner where Ash had his laptop set up. On the screen was a beautiful, simple website with photos of soul food and a logo that read, Mama Sienna's Kitchen in warm, inviting letters. Where did you get these photos? Sienna asked. Stock photos for now. Once you're cooking, we'll replace them with real shots of your food. But look at this. Ash clicked through menu page, about page with Sienna's story, contact page, online ordering system, social media links. This is professional, really professional. It's a start. We'll build on it. I'm also setting up Instagram, Facebook, TikTok. We go live on all platforms the day you open. Flood the zone. I don't know how to do social media. You don't have to. We'll handle it. You just cook. We'll make sure people know about it. Sienna stared at the website. Her name, her dream, right there on a screen. Wyatt tugged on her shirt. Mama, I'm hungry. Bulldog overheard. Kitchen's functional. Want me to whip something up? We don't have food here yet. We do now. Bulldog gestured to the walk-in. Brothers brought supplies. Figured we'd test the equipment. Make sure everything works. He walked into the kitchen and started pulling things out. Within 20 minutes, he was plating food. Fried chicken, mac and cheese, collard greens, cornbread. And he brought it to Sienna. Taste. She took a bite of the chicken. It was good. Really good. Not quite like her mother's, but close. How'd you make this your recipe? Sterling said you had notebooks at home. He grabbed them this morning. Hope that's okay. Sienna's mother's recipe notebooks. She'd forgotten Sterling had seen them on the counter. You went through my mama's recipes, with respect, Bulldog said. I've followed them exactly. Want to make sure we're honoring her legacy. Her throat closed up again. These men understood. They got it. Wyatt was already devouring the mac and cheese. Good, he announced through a full mouth. Other bikers came to taste. The feedback was unanimous. The food was excellent. This is gonna work, Willa said. You've got the food. We'll get you the customers. Night fell and the work continued. Someone brought in industrial work lights. Music played. People laughed and told stories while they painted and hammered and built. Sienna sat on a crate in the corner, watching it all. Wyatt asleep against her shoulder. Sterling sat down next to her. You good? I don't know what I am. Overwhelmed, grateful, terrified. That's normal, is it? Yeah, big changes feel like that. But you're not alone in this. That's the difference. Why me, Sterling? Why'd you pick me to help? Sterling was quiet for a moment. You know what I saw that night in the blizzard when you opened the door? What courage. Real courage. Not the kind where you're not afraid. The kind where you're terrified, but you do it anyway. You had every reason to slam that door in our faces, but you didn't. And that told me everything I needed to know about who you are. I was just trying to survive. No, you were trying to live. There's a difference. Surviving is keeping your head down, playing it safe, not making waves. Living is taking risks, opening doors, building something. You chose to live. So we're helping you do it right. Sienna leaned her head against his shoulder, too tired to care about propriety. Thank you. You reminded us why we do this, why the club matters. It's not about the bikes or the leather. It's about showing up for each other. You showed up for us. We're showing up for you. Around midnight, people started heading home, but not everyone. A dozen bikers stayed, working through the night. Sienna had fallen asleep on the crate, Wyatt in her arms. She woke to sunlight streaming through clean windows and the smell of fresh coffee. Gears handed her a mug. Morning, we made progress. Sienna looked around. The transformation was stunning. The dining room was painted, the floors were done. Half the kitchen had been deep cleaned and reorganized. This is real, she whispered. This is actually happening. Yeah, Gears said, smiling. It is. The next 2 weeks blurred together in a chaos of paint fumes, power tools, and controlled panic. Sienna worked 18-hour days, testing recipes in the newly renovated kitchen, while bikers sanded and hammered and transformed the space around her. On day 12, disaster struck. The oven died, not sputtering or struggling, just dead, completely gone. Gears tried everything, but it was beyond repair. The heating elements were shot. We need a new one, Gears said, wiping grease from his hands. How much? $3,000 minimum. Used maybe two? Sienna felt sick. I don't have $2,000. I know. Gears pulled out his phone. But I might know a guy. 2 hours later, a delivery truck pulled up. A guy climbed out with a refurbished commercial oven. Pete, mid-50s, weathered face. Where do you want it? Pete asked. They installed it together, Gears and Pete and 3 other bikers. When they finished, Sienna approached Pete. How much do I owe you? Pete looked at Gears, then at Sienna. Nothing, I can't accept that. Gears pulled my kid out of a burning car 3 years ago. Pete's voice was rough. I owe him a life. An oven's the least I can do. Another miracle. Another door opening just when everything seemed lost. By day 16, the restaurant looked ready. The dining room had warm cream walls with local artwork donated by a painter who'd heard about the project. The tables were mismatched but charming, each one sanded and refinished by hand. String lights hung from the ceiling, giving the whole space a cozy glow. Ash had printed menus on heavy cardstock. Beautiful design, simple, elegant, inviting. We need a soft opening, Sterling said. Invite people. Work out the kinks before the real launch. Who do we invite, everybody? The whole neighborhood. Make it free. Just ask them to spread the word if they like it. Free Sienna's eyes went wide. I can't afford to feed the neighborhood for free. You can if we cover the food cost, Bulldog said. Consider it marketing. The soft opening was scheduled for Friday night. 3 days away. Sienna needed staff. She couldn't run a restaurant alone. I know someone, Bulldog said. My niece, she's 20, needs work. Good with people. Bring her in. Bulldog's niece Autumn showed up that afternoon. Shy, but eager. Quick hands and a good memory. You ever wait tables? Sienna asked. No, ma'am, but I can learn. You're hired. Be here tomorrow at 8. We'll train. Sienna also needed kitchen help. Willa made a call and produced a young man named Dex, recently graduated from culinary school. Couldn't find work. Why can't you find work? Sienna asked during his interview. Record, Dex said bluntly. Did 6 months for possession when I was 19. Most places won't hire me. Sienna understood that. She understood being judged for things you couldn't change. Can you cook? Yes, ma'am. Show me. Dex cooked her a simple dish. Sautéed chicken with vegetables. It was good. Clean technique. Proper seasoning. No wasted movement. You start tomorrow. 8 a.m. Dex's face lit up. Seriously, everybody deserves a second chance. Welcome to Mama Sienna's kitchen. Training happened fast and frantic. Sienna taught Autumn how to take orders, manage tables, handle difficult customers. She taught Dex her recipes, her techniques, her standards. The food has to be perfect, Sienna said. Not good, not okay. Perfect. Because people are coming here for more than food. They're coming for the feeling, the memory of their grandmother's kitchen. We can't disappoint them, I understand, Dex said. Friday arrived faster than Sienna was ready for. The soft opening, the test run. By 5 p.m., people started gathering outside. Not just a few people. Dozens, then hundreds. Sterling came into the kitchen where Sienna was having a quiet breakdown. You see that line? I see it. We're not ready for that many people. Yes, you are. You've got this. What if the food's not good enough? Then they won't come back. But I've tasted your food, Sienna. It's better than good enough. It's extraordinary. At 6 p.m., they opened the doors. The first guests were an elderly couple who'd been waiting outside for an hour. The man used a cane. The woman held his arm. Welcome to Mama Sienna's kitchen, Autumn said, showing them to a table. Sienna watched from the kitchen window as they sat down. As Autumn brought them menus, as they ordered, first ticket Dex called out, 2 chicken plates, extra cornbread. Sienna's hands shook as she started cooking. This was it, the moment everything came down to. She fried the chicken exactly how her mother taught her, crispy outside, juicy inside. She plated it with mac and cheese that was creamy and rich, collard greens with ham hocks, cornbread that was still warm from the oven. Dex delivered the plates. Sienna watched through the window as the elderly man took his first bite. He closed his eyes, his wife smiled and touched his hand. He took another bite, then looked toward the kitchen and nodded. Sienna felt something release in her chest. Orders kept coming. Table 2 wanted pulled pork. Table 3 wanted chicken. Table 5 wanted to know if they could get extra peach cobbler. The kitchen became organized chaos. But it was working. They were actually doing it. By 8 p.m., they'd served over 100 people. The dining room was packed, people waiting outside for tables. A woman came in, older, maybe 65. Sienna recognized her immediately. Mrs. Caldwell, the neighbor from the laundromat who'd called CPS. Sienna tensed, but Mrs. Caldwell sat down, ordered a chicken plate, and when the food arrived, she took a bite. Her whole face changed. The suspicion melted away, replaced by something softer. When she finished, she came to the kitchen door. Ms. Brooks, Sienna wiped her hands and came out. Yes, ma'am, I owe you an apology. Mrs. Caldwell's voice was quiet. I was wrong about you, about all of this. That was the best meal I've had in 20 years. Thank you. I'm sorry about the CPS call. That was me. Mrs. Caldwell met Sienna's eyes. I was scared. My husband died in Desert Storm. When I saw the bikers, I was scared of what they represented. Scared of change. Scared of grief I never dealt with. Sienna didn't know what to say. I'd like to make it up to you, Mrs. Caldwell continued. I'm going to tell everyone I know to eat here. And I mean everyone. She left a $50 tip on a $15 meal. By closing time at 10 p.m., Sienna was exhausted, but euphoric. They'd served 150 people. The response had been overwhelming. Sterling gathered everyone after the last customer left. That was incredible. Every single person I talked to said the food was amazing. They'll be back. They'll bring friends. We're ready for opening day. Willa added, the kinks are small, nothing we can't handle. Sienna looked around at her team. At Autumn, who'd handled tables like a pro despite never waiting before. At Dex, who'd kept pace in the kitchen without complaint. At the bikers who'd built this place with their own hands. Thank you, she said, her voice thick. All of you. I couldn't have done this without you. You haven't done it yet, Sterling said. Monday's the real test, grand opening. That's when we see if this thing flies. Monday morning, Sienna woke up at 4 a.m., too nervous to sleep. Opening day, the day that would determine everything. She got to the restaurant at 5. Sterling and Gears were already there. Setting up. Couldn't sleep either, Sterling asked. Not a chance. By 8 a.m., there was already a line outside. By 9, when they officially opened, the line wrapped around the block. Sienna stood in the kitchen, her heart pounding. This was it. First ticket Dex called out. They fell into rhythm. Orders came in, food went out. The kitchen was hot and loud and perfect. Autumn moved between the towels like she'd been doing it for years. Dex kept pace, never falling behind. Around noon, a news crew showed up. Local station. They'd heard about the widow and the Hells Angels and wanted a story. Sterling handled the interview while Sienna cooked. She could hear him through the window, talking about community, about helping neighbors, about what happens when people choose kindness over fear. The reporter came into the kitchen to film. "Ms. Brooks, how does it feel to have your dream come true?" Sienna looked up from the chicken she was frying, sweat dripping down her face, her hands moving on autopilot. "It feels like coming home," she said. "Every plate that goes out that window is a piece of my mother's love. Every person who eats here is family. That's what this is really about. Not the business, the connection." The reporter smiled. "That's beautiful." By closing time, they had served 300 people, 300 plates of food. The register was full. The reviews on social media were glowing. People were already making reservations for the rest of the week. Sienna counted the money with shaking hands. After expenses, they'd made $800 profit on day one. "This is good," Willa said, reviewing the numbers. "Really good. You keep this up, you'll be profitable within 3 months." That night, after everyone left, Sienna sat alone in the empty dining room. She pulled out her phone and opened her photos, found one of her mother from 5 years ago, standing in her kitchen, smiling. "We did it," Mama Sienna whispered. "We really did it." Her phone rang. Chloe. Sienna almost didn't answer, but something made her pick up. "I saw the news story," Chloe said. No preamble. "The one about your restaurant?" "Yeah, it looked good, really good." Sienna waited. "I was wrong," Chloe said quietly. "About the bikers, about the restaurant, about you. I was scared for you, and I let that turn into judgment." "I'm sorry." Her throat tightened. "Thank you. Can I come visit? I want to see it. Want to see you and Wyatt." "Yeah, you can come." They talked for another 20 minutes. Really talked for the first time in years. When Sienna finally got home, Wyatt was asleep at Bulldog's house. She picked him up gently, careful not to wake him. "How'd it go?" Bulldog asked. "It went perfectly." "Good. Kid was worried about you." Sienna carried Wyatt home and tucked him into bed. She sat on the edge of his mattress, watching him sleep. Everything she'd done, every risk she'd taken, every moment of terror, it was all for him, to give him a better life, to show him that you could come from nothing and build something beautiful. The next 3 months flew by in a blur of long hours and steady growth. Word spread about Mama Sienna's kitchen. The reviews piled up. People came from across Detroit to taste the food that everyone was talking about. Sienna hired 2 more servers and another kitchen helper. She paid them fair wages, more than she could really afford, but she remembered what it was like to be underpaid and desperate. The bikers came by regularly, not to work, just to eat, to check in, to remind Sienna she wasn't alone. Sterling brought his mother for her 82nd birthday. She was frail but sharp. She took one bite of Sienna's fried chicken and started crying. "Tastes like my mama," she said. "Tastes like home." That's when Sienna knew she'd succeeded, not because of the money or the reviews or the lines out the door, but because she was giving people exactly what she'd set out to give them: love, memory, connection. 6 months after opening it, Sienna made the final payment on the initial loan from the bikers. She'd paid them back in full, $15,000 plus the agreed 15%. Sterling tried to refuse the last payment. "Keep it. You'll need it." "A deal's a deal," Sienna said firmly. "You gave me a chance. I'm paying it back. Then consider the extra a gift. For Wyatt's future." Sienna's eyes filled. "Sterling, I can't. I'm not arguing about this. Take the money. Put it somewhere safe. When that boy grows up, he's going to need it." 6 months turned into a year. Mama Sienna's kitchen had a waiting list on weekends. They'd been featured in 3 magazines, 2 newspapers, 1 national food blog. Sienna had been invited to cook at a charity event with celebrity chefs. Her face was on a local Entrepreneur of the Year magazine, but she was still in the kitchen every day, cooking, because that's who she was. One Tuesday morning, 2 years after that Christmas Eve blizzard, Sienna woke to her alarm and realized something. Today was Wyatt's 4th birthday, 4 years old. Time had moved so fast. She'd planned a party at the restaurant, Nothing elaborate, just cake and friends in the community that had become her family. That afternoon, the restaurant filled up, bikers and neighbors and customers who'd become friends. Reverend Whitfield from the community church, Mrs. Caldwell with her whole family, Autumn and Dex and the rest of the staff. Chloe had flown in from California with her husband Bradley. They'd visited 3 times in the past year, each time a little warmer than the last. Wyatt wore a paper crown and ate 3 pieces of birthday cake while everyone sang to him. "Make a wish, baby," Sienna said. Wyatt closed his eyes tight, thought hard, then blew out the candles. When Sienna asked what he wished for, he said, "I wish for you to be happy forever." Sienna held him close, realized she already was. She stood there in her restaurant on a busy Tuesday afternoon, watching her team work in perfect harmony, watching customers enjoy food she'd made with her own hands, watching Wyatt color at a corner table while Bulldog kept him company. Sterling came up beside her. "You did good, kid. We did good," Sienna corrected. Sterling smiled. Fair enough. Sienna understood something fundamental now. Kindness wasn't just a nice gesture. It was a seed. You planted it in the dark, not knowing if anything would grow, but if you watered it with hope and protected it with courage, it could become something miraculous. It could become a lifeline when you needed it most. It could become a family when you had none. It could become a restaurant that fed bodies and souls in equal measure. She'd opened her door to 25 freezing bikers on the worst night of her life, and they'd opened 1,000 doors for her in return. That's what kindness did. It multiplied. It echoed. It transformed the world one small act at a time until the small acts became something so big you could barely remember what it felt like to be alone in the cold. She wasn't that person anymore. The woman shivering in a freezing house with $9 and no hope. She was Mama Sienna now, owner, chef, mother, friend. The restaurant hummed around her, a Saturday dinner rush in full swing, every table full, the kitchen organized chaos, Autumn moving between customers with practiced ease, Dex calling out orders, the smell of fried chicken and cornbread and peach cobbler filling the air. Through the front window, Sienna could see the sign Ash had designed, Mama Sienna's Kitchen, glowing warm against the Detroit evening. Wyatt came running up. "Mama, can I help serve dessert?" Sienna looked down at her son, 4 years old now, healthy, happy, safe, growing up in a restaurant surrounded by people who loved him. "Sure, baby, let's get you an apron." She tied a small apron around his waist, watched him carefully carry a slice of peach cobbler to a table. The customer smiled at him, ruffled his hair. Wyatt beamed with pride. Sterling was at his usual booth with Gears and Bulldog and Ash. The 4 of them came every Thursday, always ordered the same thing, always left a ridiculous tip that Sienna had stopped trying to refuse. Mrs. Caldwell sat with her book club. 7 women who'd become regulars, who came every other Tuesday and stayed for hours, talking and laughing and making Sienna's dining room feel alive. Reverend Whitfield was having dinner with his wife, celebrating their anniversary. He'd been the one to bless the restaurant on opening day, to tell his congregation that this place was holy not because of what it was, but because of what it represented. Community, second chances, hope. Chloe and Bradley sat at a corner table. They were moving back to Detroit next month. Bradley had taken a job with a law firm downtown. Chloe wanted to be closer to family, to be part of Wyatt's life, to help with the restaurant if Sienna would let her. "We've got a lot of years to make up for," Chloe had said. "I'd like to start." The kitchen timer went off. Sienna headed back to pull the cornbread from the oven. The same recipe her mother had taught her 30 years ago. The same recipe that had started all of this. She'd launched a nonprofit 6 months ago, Second Chances Kitchen, helping other single parents get on their feet, partnering with Sterling's club to provide mentorship and seed funding. 3 restaurants had opened so far, all thriving. The program had gotten attention, national attention, a feature in a business magazine, an invitation to speak at a conference in Chicago. But Sienna had turned down most of it. She didn't want to be famous. She wanted to cook, wanted to serve her community, wanted to be here in this kitchen doing the work. Dex called out another order. Sienna moved to the stove, her hands knowing exactly what to do. Muscle memory built over 2 years of doing this every single day. The rhythm of the kitchen was meditation. The heat, the sounds, the smells. This was where she belonged. Autumn poked her head in. Table 7 wants to thank the chef. Sienna wiped her hands and went out. An older man stood when he saw her. Maybe 70. Veteran's cap. Kind eyes. Ma'am, I just wanted to say thank you. My wife passed 2 years ago. Hadn't had a home-cooked meal since. This tastes exactly like what she used to make. Like love. His voice broke. Thank you for that. Words stuck in her throat. She reached out and squeezed his hand once. You're welcome. Come back anytime. I will. I surely will. She went back to the kitchen, breathed deep, started on the next order. This was the drum. Not just cooking food, feeding souls, giving people a moment of comfort, a taste of home, a reminder that they weren't alone. By 9 p.m., the dinner rush was winding down. The last customers lingering over dessert and coffee. Wyatt had fallen asleep on the booth in Sterling's section. Bulldog had draped his leather jacket over him like a blanket. Sienna started the closing routine, cleaning stations, prepping for tomorrow, taking inventory. Autumn and Dex worked alongside her. They'd become more than employees. They were family. You good, Dex asked. Yeah, just tired. Good tired, though. Sienna smiled. Yeah, good tired. Sterling came back to the kitchen. Wyatt still asleep on his shoulder. Kid's out cold. Want me to carry him to your car, please? They walked out together. The restaurant locked up behind them, the sign still glowing. Sienna looked up at it. Mama Sienna's kitchen. Her name, her dream, her reality. You know what the best part is? Sterling said quietly. What? You're showing that boy that anything's possible. That where you start doesn't determine where you finish. That kindness and hard work and courage can change everything. Sienna looked at Wyatt, sleeping peacefully against Sterling's shoulder. That's all I ever wanted, for him to grow up knowing he's loved, knowing he's safe, knowing the world can be good. You're doing it, Sterling said. Every single day, we're doing it, Sienna corrected. I couldn't do this alone. None of us can. That's the whole point. Sienna drove home with Wyatt in the back seat. The streets of Detroit quiet at this hour. She thought about that Christmas Eve 2 years ago. The blizzard, the fear, the desperation. Thought about opening the door to 25 strangers, the single decision that changed everything. She'd been terrified, certain it was a mistake, sure they would hurt her, but she'd open the door anyway. And on the other side of that fear was everything she had now. The restaurant, the community, the family she'd built from strangers and hope. At home, she carried Wyatt inside, tucked him into his real bed now, not a mattress on the floor. A proper bed with a frame and a good mattress and warm blankets. His room had toys, books, a nightlight shaped like a motorcycle that Bulldog had given him for his birthday. She kissed his forehead. Sleep tight, baby. Night, mama. She went to the living room, the same couch where she'd huddled with Wyatt under 3 thin blankets. But now the house was warm. The refrigerator was full. The bills were paid. She'd made it. Against every odd, despite every obstacle. Through every moment she'd wanted to give up, she'd made it. Her phone buzzed, a text from an unknown number. Hi, Sienna. My name is Maria. I'm a single mom in Lansing. I heard about Second Chance's Kitchen. I work 3 jobs, but I can't get ahead. I can cook. My abuela taught me. I have recipes. I have dreams. Can you help? Sienna smiled, typed back, yes, I can help. Let's talk tomorrow. She put the phone down, looked around her warm house, thought about the restaurant, about Wyatt sleeping safe in his bed, about all the people who'd shown up when she needed them most. Tomorrow, she'd help Maria, the way Sterling had helped her, the way Carlos had helped Sterling, the chain continuing, the kindness multiplying. Because that's what you did when someone opened a door for you. You walked through it. You built something beautiful. Then you turned around and opened doors for others. Sienna fell asleep on the couch, warm, fed, loved, surrounded by the life she'd fought so hard to build. And in the morning, she'd wake up and do it all again. Cook for her community, love her son, help someone else find their way. Because she was Mama Sienna now. And Mama Sienna's kitchen was always open. The door was always unlocked. The light was always on for anyone who needed it, for anyone brave enough to knock, for anyone willing to believe that one small act of kindness could change everything, the way it had changed her.